Starsector, one of the best games ever made, and even better with mods. Starsector has a very impressive modding community that has been modding and enhancing the Starsector experience for many years. Whether you are a new player trying out modding for the first time, or a veteran player looking for something new, there's a ton of things to check out in this video, so strap yourself in and consider subscribing to the channel. I'm IroncladLion, and these are my top 50 Starsector mods. And here they are. Feel free to pause the video and crack open some new tabs as we go. All links to each mod page are posted in the description, except for a few. We'll talk about those later. To keep this video a reasonable length, I'll be taking a minute or less on each mod. These mods are also not in any specific order, so I'm not ranking them in any way. I love them all equally, and just like parenting, some get more equal love than others. We'll section them out by type of mod based on the mod index categorization. If you plan on modding Starsector, you should acquaint yourself with the mod index. Seriously, you'll be spending a lot of time on this page. Now I hope you like books, because we're starting with the libraries. We have LazyLib, MagicLib, and GraphicsLib. These are the big three that you'll need to make pretty much every other Starsector mod work properly. Lazy and Magic you will not notice while playing the game, as those are for the sweaty nerds we call modders. Regardless, you will need them. GraphicsLib, on the other hand, is very much required and noticeable while playing. It adds things like the shield ripple effects, glowing weapon effects on ship holes, and a bunch of other minor details. The biggest and most noticeable effect while playing is that instead of the vanilla flashbang when a ship gets destroyed, you'll get a really awesome looking explosion with a visual distortion effect. After ships are destroyed, they will continue to smolder. A lot of people asked me how I got all the cool visual effects from my previous videos, and 90% chance it's from GraphicsLib. A fun fact for Potato Gang, GraphicsLib, to everyone's surprise, utilizes your graphics card. So, if you hollowed out a beaver to play Starsector, you might be in trouble. Luckily, there is a workaround. You can tweak or disable these effects entirely in the graphic options of the mod. This allows you to use the mod and fulfill the requirements of other mods without the GPU strain. Now that we have our libraries, let's get to the fun stuff. Megamods. From this list, 2 make the top 50, Miscellaneous and Industrial Evolution. Miscellaneous gives Starsector 4x mechanics. If you don't know what 4x stands for, it's really quite simple. You can officially represent a faction, form alliances, go to war, and conquer the sector. Miscellaneous adds a ton of great features and has been around since 2015. It's so integrated into the Starsector modding experience that it's actually required for some mods. It's kind of a big deal. Industrial Evolution is another massive expansion to Starsector and adds many great features, mostly focused around exploration and colonies. It adds over 20 new buildings for your colonies, special functionality to some core sector worlds, an amazing amount of new exploration content, and fleet detachments. It also recently added defensive stations, which are a blast to fight in combat and dodge on the campaign lair. All around, a really enjoyable mod that makes exploration in colonies more exciting. And it's always exciting seeing new faces in the sector, which is exactly what portrait packs are there for. Now these range from immersion friendly to basement enthusiast. Here are the 2 I recommend and have been using for years. Another portrait pack adds a great variety of portraits that are all of excellent quality. Not the most immersive, but with the amount of mods we have installed, they'll fit right in. And speaking of fitting in, the Interesting Portraits pack has 375 portraits that actually do a great job adhering to the vanilla factions. Portraits are color coded and are exclusive to each faction, which helps maintain faction identity even while playing with many mods. Highly recommend. Adding over 100 handmade portraits, I'd also recommend the UAF portrait pack. Heh, got 'em. Flag packs. Really only if you want more flags to choose from for your custom faction. I use the deluxe player flags pack, which adds 24 flags. They're not too complicated and not too basic, right in that sweet spot. Miscellaneous mods, or any mod that adds something not easily categorized. Better colonies. Adds several quality of life features and lets the AI upgrade their industries with story points over time. Your donut steel player colonies aren't as overpowered as they once were. Commission crews. This grants unique ship bonuses based on the faction you are commissioned with. If you get decommissioned, you lose that bonus. This mod is simply amazing, adding tons of flavor to each faction. It's integrated with Nexarellan, as well as more faction mods than I'd bother counting. Illustrated entities. One of the most recent mod releases to make it onto my top 50 list. Using the power of AI, an act usually considered heresy in the sector, this mod adds over 500 illustrations to planets and colonies. The mod will match illustrations to each planet depending on planet type, conditions, size, population, faction, and a few other factors. It's immersive, terrifying, and I love it. It also lets you change the picture and description of any planets you own, which honestly, I'm surprised hasn't been done until now. It's a fantastic mod and certainly one to pay attention to. Locked and Loaded. Essentially a community-driven bounty mod that requires magic lip. There's a bunch of custom-made bounties from many contributing individuals. If you enjoy bounty hunting in Starsector, it's a great mod to have. Special hull mod upgrades. Another recent mod release, this mod lets you install colony improvement items into your ships. Great for those who prefer the nomadic lifestyle instead of colony building. The items provide pretty huge bonuses to your ships, but you will also lose the installed item if the ship is knocked out in combat. This mod is still very much in development, but the idea is very clever and I do enjoy having more options. Substance abuse. This mod adds beverages to the game which can be consumed by your crew to provide various bonuses, with drawbacks. Each vanilla faction gets their own beverage, and the recipe for said beverage can be stolen. You can then build your own brewery that looks like a decommissioned naval mine and produce an entire sector's worth of alcohol. It's simple, and yet, as a borderline alcoholic, it's one of my favorite mods. TMI? The Too Much Information mod is great for modders and stat junkies alike. The mod will let you display all the crucial ship stats you'd like to see in the refit screen. No longer will your ship stats be unknown. And speaking of known unknowns, the Unknown Skies mod greatly increases the variety of systems and planets you'll find while exploring. There are also a few rare planetary conditions added to spice up potential colonies. For those who enjoy exploration, I consider this mod essential. Utility mods, or any mod that makes playing Starsector more enjoyable and more or less painful. Audio Plus adds a whole bunch of music from various mods and sources and adds them into the base game. These tracks are handpicked to integrate well with the vanilla music. This mod has been around since 2016, and I've been playing with it so long, I don't even know what's vanilla. Autosave, an incredibly important feature in most modern games that Starsector does not have. No longer will you smash your keyboard after losing 3 hours of a Starsector campaign. Now, since some people are playing on potatoes, the actual autosaving is disabled by default. As with many mods, saving can take quite some time, so instead, this mod will simply remind you to save if it has been over 15 minutes since your last. I personally just use the reminders, but this mod is configurable if you would like a true autosave. Better Deserved S mods. This mod grants bonuses to lower OP cost hull mods that are built in, as well as some small penalties to expensive hull mods like heavy armor. This is a fantastic mod, and I installed it as soon as I heard about it. It greatly increases the variety of ship builds by offering really cool S mod bonuses to hull mods you otherwise wouldn't use. This mod is so well designed and improves gameplay so much that it is officially being integrated into Starsector in the next major patch. This is the highest honor a utility mod can receive, and I absolutely recommend this mod to everyone. Console commands, a great mod for modders and mod playtesters. The commands let you tweak or summon just about anything. When making my mod reviews, for example, I've had to restart my save file several times as the mod gets updated. Console commands help me get my new save moving much quicker, so I can get to playtesting in a fraction of the time. Clear commands add some additional commands that can clear fleet bloat, which can slow down your save file. If you are running plenty of mods, you can use C Smart smart clear to remove any unnecessary fleets from the sector, which can greatly boost your FPS. These removed fleets can still respawn over time, but this mod can help if the sector starts getting nutty. In the early days of Favonius, I used this command a lot. Content unlocking missions. This mod is really clever, and it might take some explaining. Basically, the main menu missions actually have an impact on the campaign layer. You might find a derelict that says you should go complete a certain mission before exploring further. So you go to the main menu and do that mission. You don't need to do well, just successfully complete it. When you load back into your campaign, you'll find some special goodies. This is amazing. Not only does it make me actually care about the main menu missions, but instead of just reading the lore of how that derelict got there, I get to play that mission and put that derelict there myself. Timid has experimented with this in his own faction mod, and this mod applies the idea to the 13 vanilla main menu missions. Dynamic tariffs. A very simple mod that adjusts the market trade tariff depending on your relations with that faction. The 30% tariff still applies to negative relations, but gaining favor with a faction will lower your tariff to a more reasonable amount. Dynamic tariffs is mod friendly and only applies to the vanilla factions. Modded factions are still free to set their own tariffs. Hex shields. A fun graphical mod that changes the simple vanilla shields into cool shields with hexagons. In the settings, you can tweak the mod to have filled or empty hexes depending on which style you like more. It has almost no performance impact, and I've been using it since it came out. Just a heads up, it does require the CMUtils mod or Combat Miscellaneous Utilities. I don't really count CMU as part of the top 50 since it's just required to make hex shields work, but go ahead and download that as well if you want the delicious hexes. New beginnings, the less painful way to die for Iron Mode players. If your fleet gets completely wiped, you'll spawn with a fleet roughly half the size of what you lost, with various ships from the faction you are affiliated with. These ships will then be outfitted with weapons and hull mods you've unlocked. It's a nice mod that makes rolling with the punches significantly more interesting and less depressing. Highly recommended for Iron Mode players or anyone who can stand a full fleet wipe without hitting Alt F4. Speed Up. Extremely simple mod that lets you speed up time in combat. Great for if you want to get into combat quickly or auto-resolve an easy battle in a fraction of the time. If you are a Starsector player with limited time to play, it's a great mod to have. Maybe one day we'll get a true auto-resolve. Trailer Moments. An eye candy mod that makes some vanilla projectiles look pretty. This mod does put some light strain on your graphics card, but if you have a decent system, it shouldn't be a problem. Upgraded Rotary Weapons. Another eye candy mod focusing on the animations of vanilla rotary weapons. This mod makes it so vanilla rotary weapons spin up and spin down, with an overall faster spin rate while firing. They also rotate faster when using accelerated ammo feeder. Overall, a nice enhancement to weaponry. And speaking of enhancement, let's talk about content expansions. These mods focus on expanding the gameplay options already established within vanilla Starsector. Ludic Enhancement mod. This mod adds some appropriately colored ships to the church and path, but that's not why it's making the top 50. In fact, just ignore everything else. We got IEDs.
I love it, crowd.
If you don't mind parting with some of the crew required, these ships can be absolute game changers if used effectively. Granting the Ludic Path IED ships is something that not only makes perfect sense, it's also fun. And no mod prioritizes fun like Pagzim or Philip Andrada Gas Station Manager. Technically this is classified under content expansions on the mod index, but it also could be called a faction mod. An absolutely massive overhaul of the Syndrian Diktat, the Syndrian Fuel Company adds a ton of new ships, characters, and life to the Asconia system. If you'd like to know more, check out my review video on the mod. There's a lot more than you might expect. If you like sushis and sashimis, check out Seafood Shipworks. This is a ship pack that has some very finely crafted ships that fit in perfectly next to the vanilla style. A selection of high-tech, midline, and low-tech ships. If you are a player who likes to adhere to vanilla style, this is an excellent expansion. Seeker, Unidentified Contact. This is a ship and weapon expansion pack that has some very exotic designs. This mod comes with several cool missions to do and fun ways in which you can acquire these ships. They don't fit into a typical fleet doctrine, and that's part of the fun. Experimenting and getting these ships to work within your fleet is what I think makes this mod very enjoyable. For those who like to collect odd and unique ships, this mod is for you. Ship/weapon pack. With a generic name like that, you know it has to be good. This mod has been around for a long time, and I've been using it since its release. Some of the ships and weapons I just assume are vanilla now. All the content in this mod has been refined, balanced, and tested to work in perfect harmony with the vanilla game. For players who are just starting to mod Starsector, I'd recommend this to be the first mod they try. It was in the first 5 mods I ever downloaded, and it has never disappointed me. There's also the International Bounty Board, which adds a ton of fun bounty missions with powerful, unique ships to collect. There's a lot of cross-mod bounties that I encourage you to check out as well. Armatura. I have no idea if I'm saying that correctly. I've gotten a lot of requests to cover this mod, and for good reason. This mod adds a number of gameplay features all centered around fighters. The biggest feature being pilotable fighters and strike craft. For those who just want to fly a tiny fighter wing in a huge Starsector battle, the Wingcom Hull mod allows you to create an elite fighter wing in which each fighter pilot functions as a mini officer. With enough combat experience, you may even promote a fighter wing member into ship officer. You can customize their portrait and call sign. Wing members will even chatter to each other mid-combat. Oh, and mechs. These are quite rare to find, but amazing to watch and fly in combat. For all the mech enthusiasts, be it Battletech, Gundam, Front Mission, Armored Core, Chrome Hounds, or Titanfall, this mod has mechs of all shapes and sizes. Starship Legends, a mod where reputation is everything. With this mod, every ship in your fleet will build some kind of reputation over time. Conquer the perils of the sector, and your ships can become legendary. If there's a rumor your ship is deadly, it becomes deadly. If your ship is cursed, may Lud have mercy. Your crew will also have varying levels of loyalty to their captain. If their captain is good, the crew morale is raised, increasing the ship's stats. If the captain disables the ship in combat, the crew will blame the captain, and the ship's stats will tank, to the point where it might be better to move the captain to a different ship. Enemy fleets will also have various reputations. Instead of being applied to the individual ships, this reputation applies to every ship in the opposing fleet. These modifiers can have a significant impact on combat, so pay attention. The mod adds a few more interesting interactions based on your and other fleets' reputations, and is overall a really cool mod that adds a lot of personality to the sector. Talon Shipworks, a mod that adds a bundle of fun. And pain. The ships, weapons, and custom bounties that Talon adds are all of excellent quality. Talon also adds arguably the most hated faction to the game, the Legio Infernalis. The Legio are a pirate faction that is, by lore explanation, incredibly well funded. If you ask me, that's not a pirate, that's a mercenary company. This is an overpowered faction meant to cause problems in the sector, and that it does very effectively. If you are like me and find the Legio annoying to deal with, you can disable the Legio in the options of the mod, and enable other experimental features for the optimal experience. Torch ships and deadly armaments, a great expansion pack that is focused on providing more vanilla-themed options. Of everything in this mod, the Pest class frigate is probably my favorite. If you find the special pirate variant with a giant flamethrower on the front, call me, I want it. Saving the juiciest mods for last, it's time for the faction mods. Starsector faction mods are massive mod projects that add entirely new factions, ships, weapons, characters, and mechanics to the game. We'll start with the faction that needs no introduction, Diablo Avionics, one of the very first mods for Starsector, dating all the way back to 2015. Ha, just kidding, 2014. This mod may be old, but unlike other faction mods that have tragically been lost with time, Diablo Avionics has aged like a fine wine. Created during the dark ages of Starsector modding. Diablo Avionics does not have contacts or characters, and instead focused its development time on weapons, ships, and overall aesthetics. The years of refinement have led to such creations as these highly detailed transforming ships. In fact, Diablo Avionics even has skin packs for those who wish to personalize their Diablo fleet. A legendary Starsector faction, Diablo Avionics absolutely belongs in the top 50. Interstellar Imperium, essentially a branch of a much larger Imperial faction that was cut off after the collapse. A really solid, well-made faction with Imperial package hole mods that drastically change a ship's role and even appearance. There's some very neat lore to discover as well as fearsome super weapons. If you are looking for an enjoyable, straightforward Empire experience, the Interstellar Imperium might be the faction for you. Iron Shell. Technically, this is classified as a content expansion mod in the Starsector mod index. While the mod focuses on expanding the lore surrounding the Hegemony 14th battle group, it ultimately adds a new faction to play as and fight against. A militarized commerce division of the Hegemony, this faction is dedicated to collecting taxes and punishing those who don't pay them. On that note, Iron Shell adds a tax simulation based on your actions within the sector. Why someone would do this, I don't know, but it's very impressive. I have to restrain myself from talking too much about Iron Shell because there are big things coming for the mod. What I can say is that this faction has some of the best looking ships I've seen in any Starsector mod, and is genuinely one of the best experiences I've had while playing the game. I'll save further analysis for a later date. Myasuran Navy, a pretty neat mod faction that's actually somewhat canon to Starsector lore. They used to be a mighty terraforming faction that rivaled the Hegemony until they simultaneously got hit by the Ludic Path and Hegemony. Between the massive terrorist attack against their station and the loss of the Myasuran flagship, the faction was swiftly destroyed. This mod revives them a bit. All the same lore events happened, and their once paradise world of Merath still had a massive colony station crash into it, making the dinosaurs look like they had it easy. So you can play as one of the few Myasurans that survived and try to rebuild the lost empire. As for why I enjoy this mod, the ships and the Merath desert beats. Overall, it's a great faction mod that sticks closely to the core Starsector lore. Scalar Tech Solutions, a small, high-tech faction that looks amazing. It's got some interesting lore and a good bit of cross-mod content. If you'd like to know more, you can check out my faction review video of Scalar Tech. Underworld. I think this mod should be categorized as a content expansion mod as opposed to a faction mod, so I'll explain. Underworld as the Starlight Cabal, also known as the Purple Space Mafia. This group will check the player if they ever seem to be doing too well, and take your lunch money, or any other cool loot you just found. This is not why I think this mod is essential. Underworld adds a ton of great pirate ships that are both fun to fly and fight against. If you ever find an Infernus class battle wagon, you may witness low-tech patchwork art in motion. It looks like a low-tech boss ship, and it feels like a low-tech boss ship. So, if you can deal with a faction whose favorite show was, and still is, Barney and Friends, then this is a great mod. Zon Empire. Technically two factions bundled into one mod, the Zon Empire and United Pamed. United Pamed are a very small faction with expensive high-tech ships, but the main meat of the mod comes from the Zon Empire. Their ships are funky looking, which almost put me off, and yet I'm so happy I downloaded this faction. The culture is fascinating, and their aesthetics are quite charming, like old school sci-fi concept art before anyone knew what spaceships would look like. I appreciate variety in my sector, and the Zon Empire offers just that, a high quality faction mod that oozes style. The Zon Empire is a hidden gem. If that was juicy, this section is all about the spicy, the kind of mods you have to go into back alleys for, the super secret mods that make you look like the cool kid when you tell people about them, the mods your waifu didn't want you to know about. These are the Unlisted Mods. More specifically, these mods are not listed on the official mod index for one reason or another, and I've included links to each mod in the description to make your lives easier. Dakaholics and Dakaholics mod sprites. I didn't choose the Daka life, the Daka life chose me. I mean it. I was sent this mod after my last video. If you are familiar with the Trailer Moments mod, this is that mod on crack. This mod enhances the visual effects of several vanilla weapons. Given that I have so many mods installed, the best place to see this mod was in the main menu missions, where you can easily see the enhanced railgun and mortar effects. Since this is one of Tal's personal projects that is not on the Starsector forum, I've included the link in the description. It's pretty cool and certainly makes Starsector feel more cinematic. Secrets of the Frontier pre-release, an awesome work-in-progress mod that includes both campaign and battle enhancements, several well-made quests that include everyone's favorite AI, as well as a tactical expansion that includes really fun, new objectives to the battle layer of the game. These objectives change depending on what kind of system you are fighting in, adding to the tactical fidelity of Starsector. I highly recommend watching this mod's development. And speaking of mods to watch, the UAF, or the United Aurora Federation. Simply put, it's one of the best Starsector mods I've ever played, and reminded me why Starsector is probably my favorite game of all time. It flew under everyone's radar, including my own, for many years, so I made a video about it. What I didn't expect was the tidal wave that came after. If you don't know about the UAF, you can check out my mod review that started this whole series. I could say a lot more, but for the sake of this video, download it and try it out yourself. Super Weapons Arsenal. This mod adds extremely rare and powerful weapons for the player to use. In the best way possible, they are blatantly overpowered and approach dangerous levels of fun. In my Pagsum review, remember this scene? That's the black hole generator. In my current playthrough, I found the reflective shield, which lets you reflect almost any projectile back at the shooter with 20% more damage. Unfortunately, it can't reflect Lud's holy light. There's no blueprints to make these super weapons, so when you lose them, they are gone. To attest to how hard they are to acquire, I've been using this mod for a little over a year, and I've found about 5 of these weapons. This is probably the spiciest mod I have in the top 50, because this mod was removed from the mod index. If you'd like to read about why it was removed, you are free to do so on the Starsector forum. How would I describe it? Frivolous. That's a good word. I like that word. You know what other word I like? Freedom. So, I've put a direct download link to the latest version in the description. If you have version v2.5b, you're good to go. Take no prisoners. The most recent mod to be released in this list. TNP is all about taking prisoners and treating them nicely. If you defeat a fleet in battle, you'll have the option to talk, execute, or release said prisoner. Depending on the officer's personality and faction of origin, you may be able to recruit them to your cause. I do appreciate having more options for recruiting officers, and the potential for cross-mod interaction is very exciting. Pagsum, for example, has such an interaction, and is a good example of what's possible. Since this is a very new mod, there isn't too much here yet, but I'd still highly recommend it, and I'm looking forward to future updates. There are many amazing mods for Starsector, not all of which can make it into the top 50. These are the honorable mentions. I have installed and used all of these mods at some point. I don't have them currently installed for one reason or another, but I still recommend them if they look appealing to you. Hazard Mining Incorporated, a very cool faction mod that adds a ton of ships, mostly cobbled together from various ship hulls. Hazard Mining Inc. is a faction focused on looting, scooting, and freebooting by whatever means necessary. I like a lot of the ships this mod adds, I just wish it could be broken up into somewhat smaller pieces. If you enjoy low-tech patchwork ships that are easy to maintain, this is an awesome mod to have. Amazing Ship Foundry. Nothing too complicated here, just a really solid ship and weapons pack with a good variety between tech levels. If you want more variety in your campaign and want to try some new stuff, I recommend it. Big Beans Ship Compilation. Another really great ship pack that has some downright awesome designs. I really appreciate that many of the ships in this compilation are logistic and exploration focused as opposed to just combat. Ness's Saw, a small but carefully crafted ship and weapons pack. I very much appreciate the quality over quantity approach. As with many mods, it can become harder to find what you are looking for. Overall, a very enjoyable mod. Combat Chatter. If you want your fleet to feel a little more alive in combat, Combat Chatter can fill that void. If you want to see a bit of what the mod looks like, I did have it installed during my Scalar Tech Solution mod review. It's highly configurable, and I recommend the mod if you'd like some more feedback from your fleet and officers. Fast Engine Rendering. A very well made, smart engine rendering mod that can boost performance by 25%. I'm not joking. For Beaver Tato captains, friends, this mod could change your life. It does change how the engine plumes are rendered in-game, so if you have a beefy system, it's ultimately up to aesthetics if you like this mod. I've been using this mod off and on for a little over a year depending on what faction I'm playing, and can confirm the game runs a little smoother with it enabled. Kingdom of Terra, probably the goofiest faction mod I've ever tried, and yet one of the most clever. Essentially what a faction of cave people would look like if they were allowed to have spaceships. Smashing your enemies with a giant rock, drill, or skull never goes out of style. There's even a multi-sectional serpent battlecruiser, which is one of the most impressive things you'll see in Starsector modding. If you crave the unusual, there's nothing quite like the Kingdom of Terra. Slightly better tech mining. It makes tech mining mine tech. Fuel, supplies, metal, transplutonics, and volatiles will no longer appear. Instead, rare tech will now be more likely. This mod is highly configurable to get your ideal tech mining experience. It also works as an excellent way to find super weapons and exotic tech from other mods you have installed. In fact, I better reinstall this right now. Starfarers, sector enthusiasts, my friends. Whether you only play with a few utilities or shove every mod into your game until it can no longer run, I hope you found something in this video. Maybe you are wondering, Ironclad, are these the best mods Starsector has to offer? They're my favorites, but everyone has different tastes and preferences. What you enjoy and what mods your next playthrough will include is entirely up to you. I've tried a lot of different mods over the years, and there are many more that I haven't, so by all means, if there's a mod you think is worth taking a look at, post it in the comments section. A word for the community: when talking about mods, make sure to keep things positive, as mod developers put in hundreds, sometimes thousands of hours into their creations. Frankly, I think we are spoiled as Starsector players because we not only have an extremely dedicated and meticulous dev team, but a thriving mod scene with passionate creators. For all the modders out there, thank you. If you are like me and simply enjoy playing modded Starsector with no modding talent of your own, consider showing your favorite creators some love. Huge thanks to the Iron supporters bankrolling these videos, and this awesome community for being patient while I put together these massive projects. Alright my friends, consider subscribing, enjoy the montage, and have a great day. I'm IroncladLion, and thanks for watching. My next video, let's just say there's something that's been in the works for a while that I'm looking forward to sharing, and it might
shake things up.